everyone. I jumped on a minute early. We're making pound cake. I'll give people a few minutes to get on. I hope everyone's ready. I'm super excited. Again, if you're not a coffee cake person, you can make a base pound cake today, or if you have lemons on hand, you can make a lemon pound cake. Like, this recipe is versatile. You can personalize it. You can spice it up however you like. If you are going to add in any heavy items, any mix-ins like chocolate chips or diced fruit, you definitely want to fold those in flour before you toss them in. But otherwise, I'll try and remember to give those tips as we go. Otherwise, I am going to show you how to make coffee cake, but it's basically pound cake. So we will all be sort of making coffee cake together, and you can have this recipe on hand to make any variety of pound cake that you'd like. So I'm really excited. This is one of my favorite recipes. I could eat it literally any time of day. I know it's technically cake, but like, I mean, okay, most breakfast food that I really enjoy is truly just dessert in the shape of something that we call breakfast. So make it today, save it, eat it tomorrow morning. It freezes really well. You can slice it and freeze individual pieces. You could just like slice it as you go. So I'm super excited. And I can maybe I'll give it like 30 more seconds, let a few more people on. Hello, everyone. There is a note that I know that I forgot it in the initial posting of the ingredients. If you don't have cake flour, totally fine. Hopefully you do have all-purpose flour and cornstarch, and I'll show you that, and I'm going to write it on the recipe and everything. But otherwise, I'm super excited. Let's get started. I'm going to pull up the recipe right now and show you what we're doing. It's a very basic sort of method, except at the end we're going to beat it into oblivion before we ever throw it in the pan and throw it in the oven. So this is what we're doing today. We're going to cream these puppies together, our butter and our sugar. Then we're going to add our eggs and our vanilla extract to a measuring cup together, really easy. And we will sift together our dry ingredients, which will include the cinnamon if you're making coffee cake with me today. If not, totally optional. You don't have to do that. So let's start. If you're not using a stand mixer today, you can totally power through this by hand. You might maybe fall a little bit behind, which is not a huge deal. But let me know how it goes, actually. Yes, absolutely. You can have the recipe. I say 2 eggs is safer than overdoing it. If you're okay with leaving half an egg behind, you could do 2.5. I will get a little bit more on that later. 2 is fine. 2 is absolutely fine. And having it works perfectly, or doubling it, but you need a really big pan. So let's start. Get your butter and your sugar into your stand mixer. We're using a paddle attachment today. This guy is going to be our friend. And it's 1 cup of butter. If you forgot to soften the butter, don't even worry about it. Still just toss it in. It's not life or death. It'll take a little longer to come together. My butter is so soft, right? It's really nice. A mess, but really nice. So cube it. Sort of make your, get it into, it doesn't need to be exact, just smaller pieces. That just helps the stand mixer not have a total meltdown in the middle. It has happened to me before. Have any of you had your stand mixer just shut off in the middle of baking? Only softening half is actually fine too. If you want to have it, you can, but you can put it all in at once. That's totally fine. You can throw it all in. Totally been there too. So you're good. You're absolutely good. So we've got 1 cup of softened unsalted butter. If you're using salted butter, you can have the salt amount later. And 2.5 cups granulated sugar. Brown sugar does work in this recipe. If you only have brown sugar, can't speak to powdered sugar. Give it a test today. Let me know how it goes. I'll tell everyone else how it went for you. Oh, this is I have just enough sugar. Is anyone else like getting low on ingredients? Or are we all perpetually low on ingredients? Okay, I'll shut this. What you're gonna do is get it going. Not too high unless you want sort of a sugar mess on you. A little glitter. And once it looks like it's doing okay, I'm going to turn it up one more notch. This is the lowest mine goes. I've seen stand mixers go a lot lower than this though, so if you need to put it up 2 right now, go for it. Okay, and there's no prep you'll notice so far because this mix is so long we can do all our prep while it's working. So next, get your eggs together and your vanilla extract. We're gonna put both of these into a measuring cup together, or a bowl, whatever you need. And they are whole eggs. And then I've got to clean my work surface. And 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. Ooh. This store only had this, yeah, I'm gonna get right up in your face. This store only had this pure vanilla extract made from bourbon vanilla, so I'm excited. I get a little treat today. All right, how we doing? Are we good? Are we caught up? Well, we're over 5 minutes in and I've already got so much going on. If you're having some stickage, stop it, scrape it down. I'm going to right now. I know that all recipes always say, you know, beat until we're creaming it. Beat until the sugar and butter is light and fluffy. And I know that's annoying, but it's so true. You do want this, if it's thick and sticky and hard, it's not there yet. You want it to sort of be like a cloud when you run your spatula through it. And we're not done. I think I have butter paper in my mixture. Stuff like that will stand out though, at least. Eggshells, typically, in my opinion, if you get some accidentally in here, they actually stand out in most mixtures. All right, keep her going. Onward. For the dry ingredients, which again, well, oh, yes, it is 5 eggs. Beg your pardon. If you don't have this many eggs, let me think this through. There are a few substitutions. Oh, hey, hello. Yes, it does say 5 eggs. I'll leave this up. And talk to you while we're going. If you have like applesauce on hand, that works out as a really good egg substitution. If you like happen to have, I think soaked chia seeds typically work as a really good substitution for eggs. And for the dry ingredients, now first of all, if you're doing the all-purpose flour, this is what you're going to put in, which I meant to write down. You're going to do math. It'll be, oh, I have to write it backwards, hold on. I'm testing myself. My handwriting is already not fantastic. Nope, that's it. Oh my gosh, this will be completely illegible to you, but that's okay, I'll say it too. You're going to sub in 3 cups of all-purpose flour, but with 2 tablespoons of cornstarch added instead to the top. So it's going to be a 1/4 cup plus 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. Let's see, how do you do it 2 backwards? So you can either skim that off the top of each one, or you're only going to put in 2... Backwards, Sarah, backwards. Sorry that I forgot to write this out. Now my pen's out of ink. Okay, I'm gonna at least show you this. Wow, that's a backwards 4. So you're going to get 3 cups of all-purpose flour and take out a 1/4 cup and 2 tablespoons and replace that with cornstarch. So I know that's a little complicated. It's gonna total to 2.5 cups all-purpose flour plus 2 tablespoons. So 2.5 cups all-purpose flour plus 2 tablespoons, and then you add in a 1/4 cup cornstarch and 2 tablespoons. Have I lost everyone on earth at this point? I'm so sorry if I have. One more time, let me see if I can get my pen working. This will be for all-purpose, there we go. This will be 2.5 cups plus 2 tablespoons. Okay, so sorry. Oh, that's not the worst. 2.5 cups plus 2 tablespoons all-purpose and a 1/4 cup plus 2 tablespoons cornstarch. We're gonna make it through this, guys. Don't worry. Here's the thing, if you've already turned it in a bowl, good, that took me a long time. I am a fan in this recipe of like the triple sift. If you don't have a fine mesh strainer, skip this part. It's absolutely not necessary. But if you do, it's always better to sift the flour into something like this. So I'm just gonna sift a bunch unmeasured and then measure it into my next bowl. Thank you. That's it. If anyone is looking for the all-purpose measurements, Miss Danae on Facebook has them. That's perfect. Yes. And you can do this with the all-purpose flour and cornstarch, but you're just going to need all of it, so you can measure it into a sifter. Again, if you don't, just take a whisk to your mixture. That's totally fine. I love the smell of cake flour. And I hope our mixtures are all doing very well. And now I'm going to measure my 3 cups out. So that's why this is a double sift. I said triple. I was actually trying to exaggerate, and I barely exaggerated. Also, if you're making coffee cake with me today and not just pound cake, you're going to throw your cinnamon in here too, as well as your salt, and I'll get those ingredients to you right now. Oh, I did just about 3 cups. All right. Okay. So your salt is going to be half a teaspoon of salt. And then if you're doing the coffee cake, throw in a tablespoon, or that's 3 teaspoons if your container is too small, which mine is. 3 teaspoons of cinnamon, ground cinnamon. All right. And if you're whisking, go for it. Whisk it all together. I'm going to sift mine together. You can't go wrong. Trust me, this is a forgiving recipe despite what it may seem. It just likes to be whipped into shape and to get some air knocked into it to keep it, it's just a luscious texture. All right. Our dry ingredients are ready. Let's check on our mixture. Mine is gorgeous and light and fluffy. It's like a cloud. I wonder if I can get this up to you without spilling. Who cares if I don't? So it's not sticky. It comes off the spatula much smoother than it would if it's not ready. How are your guys' mixtures doing right now? Oh, it smells divine. I think I'm also smelling the cinnamon and my dry ingredients right over here. Okay, I'm scraping the bowl so that when we get the eggs in, it's going to be a more even mixture. Okay, are we ready? Here come the eggs and vanillas. You're going to do it one at a time. And just watch. As soon as it's incorporated, we'll add the next one. Keep your mixer on its lowest setting. You don't need any splashing. And you'll know if you're having trouble with like the eggs not incorporating around the sides, stop the mixer, give it a scrape, and start it again, and it'll incorporate. So don't be shy. You've got the control here, not the stand mixer. Which is a bad life lesson. All right, I'm ready for my 3rd egg. And I can tell after my next egg, I'm gonna have to scrape down the sides too. It's okay. And I'm gonna scrape down the sides. Perfect. And it's always good to sort of release the batter off of the paddle, because you want to be able to use that stuff in the end too. There we go. Okay, I've got one more egg. How are we doing? Yes, it absolutely can. If you have cold butter and you started there, it will end up. just as fluffy. It just might take a little bit more time. And you will have time to catch up as well if you're still going with the butter and the sugar mixture. Don't even worry about it. What's nice is you're totally prepped if you've got your dry ingredients and your eggs ready. And we will have some time later where, trust me, you'll catch up. I think the one trick, and I can't explain why this is, if a recipe says to start with cold cubed butter and you don't, and I'm talking about where you're creaming it, it doesn't work out the same, and I can't say why. I have experienced that if you start with cold butter and you need it room temperature, it's absolutely fine. It just takes a little more time. But starting with room temperature butter and you needed it cold, something about that. I don't know the science behind that. All right. And mine is a little, it looks a little broken, I guess is an okay word for it. That's exactly how you'd expect it to look. Don't freak out. That's the egg and the sugar and the butter. All right, now here's the next trick. I won't turn my stand mixer on yet so I can explain it to you. You can use the same measuring cup. That's one reason I told you to pull it out. Get your heavy cream measured, and we're looking at a cup of heavy cream. Yes, absolutely. I'll leave the recipe up here. Measure out the heavy cream. And if you're having it, just use half a cup. And what we're going to do is, and this is not typical in recipes in my experience, we're going to add half of the flour, slowly. So grab a spoon. And then we're going to add all of the heavy cream at once. And then we're going to beat it into submission, as all good pound cakes should be. So we're not alternating is sort of the key here. Yes, that's my only note. Okay, lowest speed. We're going to turn it on the lowest speed because we don't need a massive mess. Because you might end up with pound cake at the end of this, but does it actually make up, you know what I mean? No one wants a huge mess. So I'm just spooning it in bit by bit. And you'll see it fly up a little bit. That's fine, that's normal. Nothing to worry about. My lowest setting here is actually, in my opinion, it's pretty fast. We have, I think, one small stand mixer at work, and the lowest setting is like, if I'm stirring with a broken arm, or broken shoulder. I have broken my shoulder before. So slow, it takes like maybe 3 notches to get to this level. And we're all gonna have to judge when half our flour is up. If you ever want to be exact, you can weigh it. I've never been that exact. Right? For these KitchenAids, someone said that they have a KitchenAid and it's rare to go. It's really nice. I mean, I guess you rarely need a KitchenAid to do something slowly, so fantastic for us. I'm gonna do 2 more scoops, and then it'll be heavy cream time. And when I say you're gonna pour it in all at once, don't dump it in. You will have a mess. I just mean instead of alternating, we're going to slowly pour it down the side of the bowl. And if you have any questions, let me know. Before we do this, hold on. I've got flour on the side of my bowl that I want to take care of. You're welcome to join me. You can see the dots of cinnamon, the ground cinnamon, so lovely. Okay, just want to get some of that flour off the sides, and then I'll get some off the paddle as well. Hello. And we're going to do this again before the marathon comes in. All right, you. Get it on and get your cream. I don't know about substitutions for this with anything with the lower fat content necessarily, but I think buttermilk might actually work really well. So if you have milk and you sour it, that should be fine actually. If you only have milk, I have a feeling it would be fine. It might take a longer bake. Okay, slowly. And it doesn't have to be continuous. If it's getting too much, you can stop for a second. I've reached that point. If you preheated your oven, turn it off. I know, what a day. Everything's different. I'm almost there. I have half a cup left. I'm halfway there. And then again, we're going to finish off with the rest of our dry ingredients. If anyone has questions, just let me know. I am curious if anyone's making vanilla pound cake or any other flavors of pound cake, if you brought sort of lemon juice and poppy seeds to the mix. That actually looks good. All right. My surprise is that I'm not going to scrape it. Back to your dry ingredients. This is the second half. So more, you know, potential mess. Okay, almost there. I probably have 2 more scoops after this one. It smells really good here. How are you guys feeling it? You'd add 2 tablespoons lemon juice. If you're looking for a lemon pound cake, I would add 2 tablespoons lemon juice with the eggs and vanilla. But since I'm late to even tell you that, you can add it in now. You want to add it in before the absolute last bit of your dry ingredients. Any mix-ins you're going to want to fold in afterwards. But if you're adding any extra liquid, you want to add it to this step. And if you're adding any extra spices, you're going to add it to this step. Zest, you can totally be the judge of. I like to put at least half a lemon zest into this guy. It's going to be a teaspoon. All right. I have a lot of scraping to do down the sides. You can probably see it. I've got this sort of ring of flour. Go ahead and incorporate that, and then make sure you get all the way to the bottom of the bowl, because sometimes you've got the earliest sugar butter mixture still in the bottom of your bowl, and you want that completely incorporated. Or else, when you're pouring this into your pan, you're going to find it then, and it's not as fantastic at that point. All right, so get way deep down there, make a mess. And then make sure there's no flour on the top of your paddle. I've got a little bit. Sometimes I just use my finger on that. Actually, I don't know if I should tell you that. Sometimes while it's moving, you can sort of glide your finger along the center without it hurting in any way. There's no pain, that you don't feel anything. There's potential for danger though, so just keep that in mind. All right. Now here is the marathon. This guy's been doing a slow jog. We gotta pick up the pace. Hello, extra flour. 5 minutes. Medium-high speed. We're not going to hear much of each other. But we're going to get some other things going. So here we go. I'm setting a timer for 5 minutes, and I'm going to start it. Turn this puppy up. Make sure your bowl is locked in. Now, we have some other things to take care of. We've got fillings. If you're making a vanilla pound cake, ignore what I'm saying right now. Next page. First, we're going to put together some cinnamon sugar. Literally put these in a bowl and whisk them together. And I'm joining you. I keep cinnamon sugar on hand, but I'm running out and I like cinnamon toast. Oh wait, I might have a cinnamon sugar, hold on, container down here. I just made it. I might have, guys, I love cinnamon toast. It's becoming a problem. It's becoming a little problem. And you're just going to give that a whisk. I admit I forgot to set my timer after all of that prep, and it will be okay. Maybe one of you can tell me what's going on. Who says I know? All right. Next, we're gonna make the crumble, and I'm going to, I'm actually cheating. So this crumble, it keeps really well, fridge, freezer, anything that you like. So I still have some, so I'm gonna use that today. I'm gonna tell you exactly what to do. It's very simple. What you're gonna do is melt your butter in the microwave. Oh my gosh, I know. For anyone that doesn't own a stand mixer, if you're going for it by hand, keep going. You've got this. I believe in you. Also, send out photos because you deserve the world, and I'm going to tell everyone the amount of muscle power that you gained today. Melt your butter, and then after it's melted, you're going to add in your brown sugar and your cinnamon. Stir that together, then add in your flour. So go for it. Just in case, let me see, this gets melted, just in case that gets melted, then we add these in, and then we add our all-purpose flour. I'm going to adjust this. Now what we're trying to do in here is incorporate air. On my fake timer, it rang. And so you're going to scrape the bowl, and guys, we're going for it again. Another 5 minutes. So go ahead and scrape your bowl. Make sure you still don't have any sugar or butter in the bottom. This is sort of the end. This is the big moment. If it's not right now, it'll never be right. That's not true. I bet it would taste delicious and be entirely perfect. Sometimes I wonder about the overkill in baking. And let me know how we're doing on the crumble. All right, another 5. Here we go. Same speed, medium high. Now, if your crumbles are already perfect, the texture is sort of like wet sand, which is, I think, very interesting for a crumble. This is my favorite crumble on the entire planet. I would put it on anything, and it bakes to a crisp. You can leave it in big clumps. I like it sort of finer, and I'll explain why. If you leave it in too big of clumps, there's more risk of them falling off, especially if you're unmolding. If you're not unmolding and you're just going to cut it out, that's fine. Today, instead of doing sort of like an industrial pan to unmold, I am doing an I Need You pan, and we're going to prep it now. So what you're going to do is coat this in grease, butter, lard, if you have shortening, if you have Crisco. I'm just using a spray, and then it has to be floured. So I'm going to spray it well, and then you can use all-purpose flour, that's absolutely fine. And then we're going to coat it in flour. I know flour is so precious right now. You can do this in increments so that you don't feel like you're losing any. Because I would not recommend reusing any flour that you've rolled around in grease. Great question, what size pan? Any size pan that you'd like. You're gonna have to watch it as it bakes to make sure it's not overcooking. This is a 9x9. Feel free to use a 9x13. It's gonna be thinner. Oh yes, you can just mix the crumble with a spoon. If you're wondering how to mix the crumble, just mix it together with a spoon. You can mix it with your hand, whatever is most convenient. So pan sizes, anything works. You can use, it'll fill 2 loaf pans if you have a typical loaf pan. You can use a 9x13, it'll just be thinner. I'm using a square 9x9 inch pan, so it's actually completely up to you. If you are cutting the recipe in half, make sure you don't use a pan that's too big in any way. 9x9 should work fine if you're having it. It's just going to be a shorter coffee cake. So absolutely, the world is your oyster. Use your favorite pan. I wouldn't recommend going above 9x13. If you really want to do like a half sheet and do a very thin coffee cake, I don't see why that wouldn't work. So it's totally up to you. I'm using the 9x9. And I'm tapping out the flour right now. I've made the perfect mess. If you do need the recipe, I'm going to put this back up just in case. We've got 2 more minutes on this second mix. For the next part, I'm going to do a layer situation. We're going to sandwich cinnamon sugar in the middle. If you're just doing a regular pound cake, you can put this mixture directly into your pan. You don't have to put, if you are making coffee cake, you don't have to add the cinnamon sugar. You don't have to add the crumble. You can add the crumble even if you've made a vanilla pound cake. That sounds really good, actually. So really, I mean, it's very personalizable. Guys, help me. What day are we on in quarantine? Yes, absolutely. Grease your pan before you put anything in. Again, any type of grease works. You can do melted butter. You can just, I do this, take your butter stick and rub it along the sides of the pans. Crisco shortening works. Lard. Technically, bacon fat would work fine. Maybe not for this recipe, but and any flour works for the greasing. I mean, for the coating. Feel free to you could use cocoa powder as a coating. That works even. Add some cocoa powder to this and make a chocolate pound cake. Okay, 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1. We're layering. Don't forget to scrape off your paddle, because all this goodness has got to get into your pan. Okay. And I hope all your ovens are off. You'll never hear me say that again. Watch, like next week we do something and I say it again. Speaking of next week, what do you guys want to do? I was going to put another poll up on Instagram stories, and I was thinking of bringing back pies because that almost beat cupcakes. Like cupcakes in the middle of the night took over. Give me 1 second to clean off my countertop a little bit. All right, here we go. So we're gonna do half into your pan. We're gonna do a sprinkle of cinnamon sugar, heavy sprinkle actually of cinnamon sugar, then top it off and then crumble. That's the game plan. And does anyone have any questions? Just let me know. And if you really want to be technical, you can weigh it into the pan. You'd have to weigh the mixture first, know what is the full amount, and then weigh it into the pan, which is why I'm not going to. And so if you want it, this is my texture. Oh, there's something about this. When a batter sort of spills into a pan, it reminds me of the beginning of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Where you see that butter, guys, chocolate. Someone tell me you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, the musical. Amazing movie. Okay, so I'm just spreading it in my pan to make it flat. You can use the back of a spoon if you have an offset. I recommend you get one. If you don't have one, you'll find incredible uses. My husband just discovered the offset spatula, which has been sitting on, I have a magnet board here with my knives, and now he uses it to spread peanut butter on a sandwich. No judgment. Do what you want. Do what you need to. So take your cinnamon sugar. You don't have to use all of this. You can. Oven's not on yet. If any of you preheated it, turn it back off. Or I have a fix for it if you turned it on already. By all means, be heavy-handed with this. If you're not a huge fan of cinnamon, maybe not that this isn't the product for you. Or if you just want it sort of milder, you can omit this part. I like this part aesthetically at the end. And it's not just that there's a line of cinnamon sugar. I'm definitely using all of mine. Okay. And then when you're putting the second half on top, just be aware that you want to move your mixing bowl as you go because you don't want this to get underneath the layer that you just made. So I'm just doing this because you'll see it spread underneath. Ooh, my goodness. No sugar butter pockets in the bottom, always a great sign. Also, if you made double and you don't have any pans that are big enough to fit, this double being our recipe, you can absolutely refrigerate this, use it next day. I've put these, I put this mixture into loaf pans and frozen them in, so it's already greased and floured. Then I put the mixture and I put that whole thing in the freezer. It actually cooks off really nicely. I just let it temper in the fridge overnight before baking it. So if you have excess batter, no sweat. Or rather, yay future you get fresh coffee cake. All right, and you don't have to be that gentle spreading it because, see, mine's sort of poking up in the corners, which is fine. There is one thing about this layer of cinnamon sugar from my own experience, and maybe it's because I'm doing something wrong. But if you leave it as it is right now, the cake actually falls apart once you cut it because the layers aren't stuck together, essentially. So I do a swirl to sort of get it going just a little bit in the middle, just to make sure that the cinnamon sugar, it still has its place in there and it should still be visible. If it's not, it doesn't matter, it's absolutely fine. But this way, the loaf pieces won't fall apart. Oh, right. Get that little, don't leave any bit behind. It's all important. Okay, now's your crumble time. As generous as you want. I love me some crumble. So you can see I'm actually doing small bits. I like it small, a little bit crunchy. Plus, if I see large bits, I pick them off the top, pop them in my mouth, which doesn't ruin the experience, but it's a different experience. And if anyone has any questions, let me know. I'm going to be a little bit light-handed. There is something to baking this and what happens when you do that I'll explain as soon as we have it in the oven. This goes into a cold oven, you may have noticed. And if your oven is on, it'll be fine. We'll still put it in there. Or you can refrigerate this and put it into a preheated oven. I have experimented with that, and that works just as well. So far, just with my experience with this recipe for a few years, it is forgiving in that way. I think it turns out best if you put it into a cold oven, but if not, pop it in while the batter is cold, and it's the same idea. Into the oven, into the cold oven, you're gonna turn, it's gonna preheat while it's in there. That's what we're looking for. 350. Are we ready? Pop it in here. Get your oven going, 350. And yes, if you have an electric oven, your top coils are going to turn on. Don't worry about it. I'm telling you right now. It'll be fine. There's one thing about this recipe that's really nice, and that is the fact that you check it every half hour, maximum. It takes a while to bake, which I know is sort of something I was talking about last year. I'm the type of person who eats the batter to everything. Bad confession? Too much judgment. There's technically raw egg in it, but it's totally up to you. You know what I mean? You do you. I love the batter to this recipe. I think it's phenomenal. One thing I did was I made coffee cake last night because I wanted to mold it for you. So cooked, I'm going to tell you a bunch of things. First of all, the amount of substitutions I made. I made this with brown sugar instead of granulated sugar. Totally turned out. there were more substitutions, and I made this with the all-purpose flour and cornstarch mixture instead. It totally turned out. You can see the way the crumble looks on top. I did it really small. This is why I have crumble in the fridge. I sort of lied to you. It wasn't really left over. So I'm going to unmold it for you. If you have not seen, Google this. Julia Child's The French Chef Show, her episode with Tarte Tartin, which is Tarte space Tartin, though it doesn't sound like that. It's French. She has this beautiful moment of unmolding it and it doesn't work. You need to watch it. It's fantastic. But if Julia Child doesn't mind when something doesn't turn out, why should we? I'm making t-shirts with that. Julia Child doesn't mind, why should I? Because it happens all the time. So this might not unmold. I did want to show you what a finished product looks like, and maybe this will work and maybe it won't. One thing I want you to see is it deflated a little in the middle, and that means I undercooked it slightly. This was in, and this is a sort of a standard loaf pan. I think it's 5 by 9 inches. This cooked for 1 hour and 15 minutes, I believe. So definitely set your timers for a half hour just to turn the pan. And then what you're looking for is it'll be domed on top, and when you press down, it will spring back. If you press down and it feels like it's gooey, it's not done. And I'm sort of hoping this is a little undercooked so I can show you what happens if it is undercooked, which is, I'll still eat it. What did I just confess to? There was one other thing that I totally forgot, so let's unmold this. If you're doing it like this, for the one that I have in the oven right now, I'm not going to unmold it, which, set your timer for 30 minutes. Run your knife around the sides, and I think I might have done a butter coating last night. I was really trying to do some different stuff. I've never made this with brown sugar before, and that's excess liquid. Do you see the way the crumble comes off? That's one reason I don't like big chunks on this, because it falls off. The top layer on these, it flakes. That's such a terrible word. That's all I got. It sort of separates off the top, and it's delicious. But that can cause problems on a crumble sometimes. Oh, I'm so fortunate. So it came out. One thing I like to do, let me get a bread knife, is cut off the ends. Anytime I serve this, I cut off the ends. Oh, cool. That is the cinnamon sugar layer. I actually swirled this. And it still turned out even like more of a sort of visible than I thought. And I might have not, like, that's a pocket, which is totally fine. And I always cut 9-inch loaves in 2/8. And I gotta try a piece, because this is brown sugar. So if you only have brown sugar today, I'm telling you, it works out. Oh my goodness, you guys. What can I say about this right now? Like, I'm so excited, and I'm eating it right now. It comes apart super nicely, and it is moist. And do I have anything? Oh yeah, okay. I can show you what it looks like undercooked. It's very slightly undercooked, probably maybe 5 more minutes. Look how impatient I was. See this slightly darker patch? That means it was just a little undercooked. If that had been cooked through, it wouldn't have deflated as much on top here. But, yeah, I'm gonna eat every bite of this. You gotta be kidding me. Do I have to tell my husband that I made it? Here we go. Oh my gosh. I need to sell brown sugar pound cake. What am I doing? You guys. I hope you loaded up the middle with cinnamon sugar. Right now, that was my favorite part, and you know the crumble is my favorite part. That is so good. If any of my siblings are watching, they might want some of this, and I really don't want to give it to you guys. Well, this was really fun. Thank you so much. If you do have questions, you're having trouble with the bake or something, let me know. Just let me know. Thank you. It really does. I'm really pleased with the way this guy turned out. So this is a half recipe, actually, for anyone making a half recipe. Works perfectly in a 9x4, 9x5, maybe inch loaf pan. And it turns out great if you ended up using all-purpose flour cornstarch. It's going to be great. And if you use brown sugar, it's going to be great. It's truly, it's up to you. And if it is a little undercooked, it's absolutely fine. And if you don't like it, drop it off with your neighbors. They might need to pick me up. So this was really fun, you guys. Thank you. Please tag me in all the photos that come out. I mean, you won't be done for maybe an hour and a half or so. You want to let it cool. just a little before you dive in. If you're on molding, let it cool even more. My oven just came to temperature. That's how this goes. And let me know. Send me photos. At Beurre Pastry Shop on Instagram and Facebook, which I've got both of you here today. If you're not a subscriber, I'm making a really fun announcement on tomorrow, Monday morning, right around I think 9 a.m. So get on that list now if you're not on it yet. And just let me know how everything goes. Thank you so much for joining me. Head to Instagram tomorrow or Tuesday. I'll have a poll up for whatever we make next week. And again, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate. DM me, post in comments, whatever you need to reach me, and I'll help you. Everyone's going to end up with coffee cake at the end of this. So thank you, and thank you for the happy belated birthday. You guys are so sweet. Oh, my apron? Yes, absolutely. Someone wants to know the story of my apron. This is from Disneyland. They have a food and wine festival at both parks in the United States. I don't know actually if it's across the world. It might be. In Florida and Disneyland. It's really fun. They have stations set up throughout California Adventures. This was from 2019. I feel so fortunate that I got to go, considering they've been, shut down for a while now. I'm a huge Disney person, if you didn't know that. One of my favorite things in any cartoon is watching people eat and make food. The Les Poissons scene from Little Mermaid. Oh my goodness. So I went there and they had these adorable aprons. And actually we went to a speaking engagement with the head pastry chef of Disneyland, who's a really cool guy. He took me on a tour of their central bakery a few years ago now, just because we met at a different... Anyways, it's super fun. When this happens again in the future, I highly recommend you go. You can eat a ton of different stuff, and they have all these different speakers, and you just have to sign up to hear different chefs and nutritionists and people that plan the foods throughout the park. So it's super fun. I highly recommend it. Anyways, thank you for joining. I'll see you guys next week. Yeah, stay connected. I'll see you soon.